Hello from Gardening at Dwensa here in Ireland, and this is a very quick clip to show you what I've got brewing. Oh, look at that! Wow, I took my eye off the ball and look, it's opened a petal. This one's opening as I watch. It's now a few days after those previous clips of the Angraecum opening, and look what we have here. Oh yes, the Angraecum isn't upstairs hidden away in the bedroom anymore. It's come down to take pride of place in the kitchen, and I think you can see why. Look at that amazing and enormous flower. If I put my hand in there, you get an idea. Absolutely enormous. And when the flower opened first, it really was quite green, but now I can see that these parts here, the lip and the sepals, are beginning to whiten up, and I imagine they'll get more white over the coming days. As for scent, this plant is supposed to have an amazing nocturnal scent, but I don't get anything yet, despite sneaking down in the middle of the night to have a quick whiff. As you can see, the Angraecum only has one single flower. And I could see this coming from a while back. I could see that only one bud was forming, and it was a little bit disappointing, I must say. I was on the phone with my friend Liga. I was talking about this plant, as you do, of course, you know, when something that you've been nursing for 2 years finally opens, you phone your friend, don't you, to talk about it. And she gave out yards to me. She said, "You do not have the right to give out about the first flowering of a plant. A plant is always finding its feet the first time around, so it should do better the next time and the time after that." And she's so right, but you know, well, we're all human. Look here at this amazing spur hanging down from the plant. It goes all the way up here and back into the neck of the plant there. It adds real character to it. Now, the history of this plant is that I bought it 2 years ago, supposedly flowering size, and in fact it was a grand big plant when it came, so I think it was flowering size, and I potted it up using a large clay pot and large bark. Now, this bark here was the largest I had at the time. I do have larger now, and if I were doing it again, I would use larger bark. But I could see it was doing well because there was root activity all around, and it was doing really well. Unfortunately, the poor plant had a mishap last summer when it was knocked over by my cat and completely fell out of its pot, made a terrible mess on the floor. And I do believe that Angraecums don't like root disturbance. Anyway, I repotted it, and slowly it's made its recovery. I water this plant once a week with copious amounts of water that I pour through. And yeah, that's about it really. I give it good light, the same light as Cattleyas. So for me, in my environment, that means placing it on a south-facing window with no shade. This unusual plant is in the Vanda family, and you can tell by the way it presents itself. It really does look quite like a vanda, and it grows many roots from above soil level, so that kind of ties in with what vandas do as well. So there you go, Angraecum Crestwood Tomorrow Star in its first flowering here at Dwensa, and looking quite beautiful. And just while I have the camera on, I just want to briefly show you something else that is also making its first flowering here. And here we have an Osmoglossum pulchellum. This plant is much smaller and a whole lot less impressive than the Angraecum. But yeah, okay, it's good, it's nice. It's got quite unusual flowers, look at them. Really quite unusual. Now you can see I've suffered some bud blast. There were maybe 3 more buds there that I've lost. And that's because it's been in the plant room where I've recently introduced a fan, and I still haven't got the hang of that fan. It has led to bud blast on this plant, the Osmoglossum, and also on my Aerangis citrata, which is giving me 3 spikes this year. But you can see, for example, here, I've lost 3 or 4 buds along the way. So definitely I'm not going to have the Aerangis citrata in the same room as a fan in future. Anyway, back to Osmoglossum. This plant is in the Oncidium alliance and it's supposed to have wonderful fragrance. I only get a vague fruity scent from it, but yeah, it's quite nice. Now, I can imagine if I were to have lots of spikes on this, it really would be impressive. And of course it would help if I didn't blast the buds that the plant did offer me in the first place. Just before I finish up, I want to show you a nobile Dendrobium I have upstairs and just point something out. Come on with me. When those little nubbins first appear on the cane of the Dendrobium nobile, you never quite know whether it's going to be a keiki, which is just an indication of bad housekeeping and bad growing, or actually an emerging flower spike. You have to just watch and wait. And just now is the moment when I can see. You see how at the end of that growth it's beginning to divide out, and that's to make the buds. Those are actually the beginnings of the buds that you see now. Now, I know it's no longer a keiki. I know I'm going to have flowers. Yay! And that's it from me. That's the end of this video, chiefly about my Angraecum that has come into flower, in spectacular flower, let's just say. Wow, gorgeous, isn't it? Thanks very much for watching. That's all for now. Bye!